Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're stepping into a super atmospheric, honestly kind of unsettling narrative pulled right from the pages of The Architecture of Becoming. We're going to explore a story called The Bodies We Keep. So brace yourself because we are descending into this profound, wild mystery of physical dissociation. I mean, this isn't just a story about a bad dream. It's a full-on existential exploration of what actually happens when the very vessel you inhabit, your own physical body, suddenly feels utterly alien to you. Let's map out this mental architecture together, where reality, memory, and transformation all just sort of blur into something completely unrecognizable.
Okay, let's dive into this exact opening thought from our narrator. The story kicks off with this massive sense of displacement. The narrator opens their eyes to a totally familiar bedroom. You know the drill. There's a meow from a cat, a purple curtain, sun filtering in, but the overwhelming sensation they have isn't just that they woke up. It's this distinct, really heavy feeling that they have been returned. They haven't just traveled back from some dream state. They literally feel like they've left behind an entire version of themselves in some liminal space. And that brilliant distinction right there, it instantly hooks us. We're not looking at someone who just had a random nightmare. We're looking at someone whose very continuity of self has been quietly and visibly interrupted.
So I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine walking into your bathroom right now, standing right in front of the mirror and raising your hand. But the person looking back at you doesn't raise theirs immediately. There's a lag. Just a fraction of a second where the glass totally fails to keep up with reality. This is the exact psychological tension our narrator is grappling with as they try to shake off the lingering images of wherever they were just returned from. I mean, what does it actually mean when the ultimate proof of your physical existence, your reflection, is no longer in sync with your own mind?
Part 1. Waking in the Liminal. To really grasp this displacement, we have to look at the fragmented memories the narrator brings back with them. In one truly terrifying memory, they're standing before a mirror. A robust hand steadies their arm, and another holds a syringe. There's a face they absolutely cannot bring themselves to recognize. But here is the truly wild part. As the injections happen, there is no pain at all. Instead, there's just this inward repeating pressure. And then, the body simply stops obeying. The skin doesn't tear or bruise, it loosens, it softens and slips, as if it has literally forgotten its own shape. The narrator watches their arm expand and narrow, totally unsure if it's moving away from them or merging into them. They're trapped, completely lucid, just watching their own muscles detach from their command, all while that reflection in the mirror lags a second too late. Absolutely chilling, right?
Part 2. The Primordial Jars.
Suddenly, that memory in the mirror shifts sideways, and we are dropped right into this bizarre environment of shelves and jars. But, well, before we look at the shelves themselves, we really need a key to decode them. Later on in the story, the narrator has this vision of a kitchen, hands cutting vegetables, pouring liquid, tightening lids, and the narrator explicitly hands us the word, fermentation. It's the slow beginning of something that really requires time, things breaking down, transforming, becoming something entirely else while appearing totally unchanged on the surface. You definitely want to keep this central metaphor of fermentation in mind, because it's the exact blueprint for what is happening to the narrator's own sense of self.
And this brilliantly illustrates what the narrator is experiencing as they stand in this bizarre room of jars. As words form in their mind like thoughts, they hear two very distinct phrases. This is how something begins. And then, a bit quieter, this is how something ends. So the absolute crucial point here is that to the narrator, there is zero difference between these two states. Forming and unforming are the exact same process. The only real difference between creation and destruction is duration.
Now, just picture this incredible room. There are rows and rows of jars filled with a thick, clouded, slowly moving liquid that holds this crazy primordial weight to it. Inside these jars, shapes gather and dissolve in an unending loop, sort of like roots extending and withdrawing. The jars are sealed, but not tightly. Just enough so whatever is inside doesn't need to leave. A label appears on one jar. But get this, it isn't written, it's remembered. Then, the whole atmosphere turns cosmic, with a sprinkle of glowing, bluish interstellar dust. The air grows dimmer and redder, expanding and cooling. And right at the very edge of this dreamlike atmosphere, a small, dark interruption darts along the shelves. Something completely outside of time is waiting.
Part 3. Spaces without purpose.
Just as we start to settle into the rhythm of those jars, we're suddenly yanked out of the cosmic and dropped into something unnervingly mundane. We find ourselves at a bus stop.
But everything here is completely stripped of its intended function. It's a bus stop sans purpose. The road stretches outward, sans vehicles. People stand at a distance, their faces covered in utility masks, avoiding all eye contact whatsoever. A digital board flickers above them, but it doesn't offer any routes, no times, no destinations. It only offers this vague, haunting suggestion that something will arrive eventually, or, perhaps is already past. It's the ultimate liminal space, a place designed purely for transition, frozen in a state where transition is literally impossible.
Part 4. The Overlap.
This is exactly where the narrator's mind begins to fracture. Those distinct visions we've explored, they no longer patiently wait their turn. Look at how these environments begin to crash together. The mirror, the needle, the jars of thick liquid, the empty bus stop, the narrator's own hands holding a warm small jar. These intrusive visions are absolutely no longer following a sequence. They are overlapping, returning again and again without permission. It is a chaotic climax of pure sensory overload. The narrator's mind is violently cycling through the architecture of their trauma, completely unable to anchor itself to any single reality.
Part 5. The Altered Return.
Then, sudden stillness. The overlap breaks, and we are dragged right back down to a crawl. The chaotic visions are gone, but peace hasn't returned. The narrator slowly opens their eyes. They sit up. Their body feels assembled, intact, but there's this chilling realization that takes hold. They feel altered in a way that could not be verified. It's that deeply unsettling feeling that a permanent, completely invisible change has firmly taken root within them. That fermentation we talked about earlier, it happened. They have returned, but they are absolutely not the same version of themselves that left. And then comes the terrifying confirmation. The narrator walks over to the mirror in their bedroom, the very mirror where this whole thing began. They look into it. At first, nothing moves, but then, there it is, the delay. It is barely noticeable, a fraction of a second, but it is undeniably present. The reflection arrives just a little too late. The room hasn't changed at all. Only the timing of reality itself has shifted. The narrator's profound physical dissociation is no longer just a dream, it is their new waking reality. In the final, really quiet scene, the narrator walks into another room, one that feels almost like an expanding cave. And right there, sitting on the counter, is a waiting jar. The glass is slightly warm to the touch. Inside, the liquid has settled and thickened. Something within it shifts ever so slowly. And just like in that room of shelves we saw earlier, a small, brief, dark presence darts behind them near the edge of the wall. But the narrator doesn't turn around. They just stand there, watching the surface of the liquid, waiting for it to either separate into something recognizable or dissolve completely.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. When we go through profound changes, when our realities blur, and our very sense of self feels delayed or detached, are we still forming, or are we unforming? The bodies we keep really forces us to confront the fact that transformation isn't always a building up. Sometimes it's a quiet, invisible breaking down. The next time you look in the mirror, pay really close attention to that fraction of a second, because you honestly never know when the reflection might just decide to take its time. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning what you see.